Could any of this travel chaos have been prevented, or is this just how things are now, especially during high travel periods? Joining me now is Clint Henderson, a travel expert and managing editor for The Points Guy. Hey, Clint. So, Clint, I want to ask you, these numbers, they seem to be getting better, but they're not great. I know we've talked about weather. That's always a factor in all of this. But what are the airlines getting right and wrong this week?
Than they have the last couple of years during meltdowns. So that's positive. I think staffing levels are back up at airlines and at airports. So that's good news. I think in general, the airlines are trying to compensate passengers in some instances. There are rules that are proposed that would make customers a little more whole. But the problem is when you throw weather in, the airlines have a lot of leeway to say, sorry, we're not going to help you out. So the airlines have made a lot of progress. We still have that really bad shortage of air traffic controllers. I don't anticipate that getting better this year. And I would like to see the airlines reduce schedules even more than they already are, especially in the Northeast because of that.
Yeah, that kind of leads into my next question. Clint, you and I have had several conversations about holiday travel. It seems like this is something we talk about every holiday. Is this just the norm now with traveling here in the U.S.?
I think for now, yes, just because of the extenuating circumstances. I'm hopeful that another year from now, you and I won't be having this conversation at all because things will be further improved. But for this year, I think passengers just have to really stay on their toes. I will say, as I mentioned, it's gotten better, but there's still a lot of room for improvement here. And remember, we did get through the Memorial Day weekend fairly unscathed, so that's positive. But I seem to remember we had a couple of good holidays last summer too, and then it all went to pieces. So something you and I will be watching very closely. But that air traffic controller shortage has me a little worried. I also think the airlines are being a little too ambitious with their schedules, considering what should be expected afternoon thunderstorms.
Yeah, I know the storms are always a big thing. I got caught in it trying to fly out of Florida yesterday afternoon. Could any of this have been prevented?
I think everyone is doing what they can to get things back to normal. And I think, that includes air traffic control. I think the FAA is really trying to hire, they're recruiting, they're training people. The problem is training was shut down during the pandemic. And once it restarted, they just had so many retirements, there's just not enough people. So everyone's trying their best. However, I will say, one of the things that bugs me over and over again is that the airlines can blame weather for almost anything, and there's really no passenger rights when it comes to weather delays and cancellations. So I'd really like to see some kind of legislation that would take a tougher line against airlines, even in weather, because weather is always the big excuse. But I don't want to see scenes of passengers stuck in airports sleeping on cots and not able to travel for 3 days. That just shouldn't happen with all the modern technology that we have.
Yeah, and even right now, we're talking 4th of July, but this is the start of what's expected to be an incredibly busy summer travel season. Another big hiccup that we are hearing about is a backup of U.S. passport applications, some even forcing people to cancel their trips. So what do people need to know? If you're heading out of town, if you're heading, internationally, you've got to get a new passport. What do you need to know so that you're not caught in all of this?
Look, you really have to start this process early because there are backlogs right now. Now, they have made some progress in catching up, but again, it's a staffing thing. So they just don't have enough folks to process all the applications to meet the surge of demand. So you really want to start the process as early as possible. If you're stuck last minute, there are emergency passport applications you can get. It's just really hard. You have to prove that you're traveling. So there's a bunch of hurdles to jump, but at the Points Guy, we have all the information you might need if you're in this situation. But the best piece of advice I have for you is get that passport renewed as soon as possible. Do all those things as early as possible right now.
Absolutely. All right, Clint Henderson, with the way things are looking, I'm sure I'll chat with you again soon. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.